take it as a learning lesson so that you never do it again, because these shifts that we're having in the market are not a matter of if they happen. It's always a matter of when they come. They're cyclical. Things go up, things go down. That's just the way economies work. So live within your means next time around, for sure. If you already were, then good job, because you obviously learned something or somebody taught it to you. And just focus on making yourself better. Hone your craft. Get better at your message. Figure out what value it is you bring to your own respective markets, and focus on putting out that message. The deals will come. We're not that far out away from another little shift in our favor, whether it's through lower rates, a little bit more inventory. Things will move.
Welcome to Breakthrough with Chris Medellin, and I am here with Arjun Dhingra. Arjun, how you doing, man?
I'm good, brother. It's good to see you, man.
Yes, man. I'm so excited. So we're live in Gilbert, Arizona. I was lucky enough because you had some events that you were partaking in here, and I'm so glad that we got to get you live in our studio. So, dude, this is going to be exciting. I can't wait to talk to you, man.
I appreciate it, man. It's good to be here with you.
Yes, man. So let me introduce, my audience to who Arjun is. And Arjun, you had this effect a few years back, right around COVID, where everyone who was trying to build a brand in the mortgage space and the lending space and real estate space, you kind of just showed up out of nowhere. And there was this little bit of mystery around you. And I was like, who's this dude? He's well-spoken, well-dressed. I want to know him. And as I started to look into who you were a little bit better and finding out the type of guy you were, I knew I wanted to be friends with you. And so it's been fun getting to know you. But for those of you that don't know Arjun, he's a content creator. He's a mortgage lender. He's a coach, an educator, a speaker. And I didn't realize this, but you are also the USA co-head coach of the USA Taekwondo team. Is that right?
Yeah, for a few more days. I'm resigning.
Of course, that would be the time.
I'm stepping down to pass it off to somebody else, and also because I'm going to be so busy with my own family now.
Yes.
I think it's the right time. But we just got back from the World Championships in July.
Yes.
And our men's team that I coached, the 7-member men's team, hit the pinnacle. They won the overall gold medal, which has never happened in the U.S.
Oh my gosh.
So this is like the perfect time to ride off into the sunset.
This is the best time.
Yeah.
Leave while you're on a high.
Totally.
And that's the best thing. But also, man, I mean, I would be remiss to mention that you were also a 2-time Taekwondo world champion, 2007, 2014. Congratulations on that, dude.
Man.
So you are also a badass.
I wouldn't say that. I was a long time ago. We're now in 2023. Those were a long time ago, but yeah.
I love that, man. And you're a father, a husband. You're also actually expecting another baby on the way. So you're going to have 2 girls now?
I am. So my hair
just amazing.
Without question, I'm never going to have hair like yours with 2 daughters.
I don't know, man. I don't know, man. You have great hair. That's another thing I noticed about you, why I wanted to be friends. Well, Arjun, welcome. And I think one of the things before we jump into it, I want to give you guys a heads up because we'll actually jump into this. Arjun, you had an Instagram account, a significant amount of following, and rightfully so, because you're putting out amazing content. You're prolific in the way that you're putting it out and putting out stuff that I'm actually entertained watching and listening to. And you got shadow banned and had to start up a new account. So those of you that are listening, please go on to your Instagram right now and follow Arjun_mortgage. You'll be extremely impressed and get a lot of education from what he's sending out. But I love what you do because you built a brand around not just providing people with educational content, but you actually have an opinion behind it. And I think that's where there's a difference. There's always, I can see when people are reading a script and I can see when people are talking about it from the heart, and you come from the heart. And I love that part about you. But let's start off about the shadow ban. That's crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, when we get into these things, it's important to stand for something. And I don't mean you need to be this like icon or revolutionary. Like there's no Che Guevara in all this, right? But when we talk about it as marketers, if you try and speak to the masses, you'll connect with no one, right? If you market to everyone, you'll end up connecting with no one. And so there's some things, in my market that I got opinionated about, not in a controversial way. They were controversial topics. But to me, they felt very common sense. So for 18 months in the wake of COVID and the reopening of San Francisco, there were some systemic social issues, specifically homelessness, which is no secret. It's known. It's in the news. and how this inability to deal with it, because it is a problem, right? And there's a lot of compassion and empathy that's required to deal with the problem, but I wasn't seeing any action being taken. So like every citizen, which is why we're in this country, we have the right to voice that displeasure. And I did it very tastefully and just said, look, I feel that this is going to have an impact on real estate, because I always want to tie what's going on in the real world back to what it is I do for a living, which is real estate, mortgage financing specifically, but it's all under the real estate umbrella. So I talked about this connection, and initially it was great. It gained a lot of traction. There would be a lot of response. People would be like, that's so awesome. You're speaking out against this. I feel the same way. When are they going to do something about it? And I was like, this is good. This is a productive conversation. And then would come the first community guidelines suspension. You know, you violated community guidelines. You have a 7-day suspension while we review your account or review further content. But every time I'd come back, I'd see a huge drop in followers. So they were either purging followers or people were getting very upset. So clearly these were people that feel homelessness is being dealt with, or that it should just be, you know, running rampant, whatever the case. And after a while, I just got tired of fighting it, because I noticed my content was reaching fewer and fewer people, and other people who had started over, a lot of guys that you and I both know, including my brother, he gave me advice and just said, look, man, just stop swimming upstream with this, throw in the towel, just start over. You'll be back to where you were in no time, and you'll actually have fun rebuilding it, which it has been. So that's why I switched over. It's been, you know, a little bit of a process to try and train everyone. Hey, go to the new account, drop the old one. But yeah, I'm getting to put into practice all the things that I preach to people, that you preach to people about engagement and doing this the right way. So I'm having fun with it, man.
It is such a, you know, it's such an important thing to be able to build your brand around your values. And this is one of the things that if I can go back and do this all over, I would have started, instead of just putting out content about, you know, mortgage or being a leader or whatever it is that I'm putting content on, and really understood who I was and what I stood for, and then backed into content based on those things. But it's really hard if you have these tight community guidelines that then box you in to say you really have to stay vanilla, you know, on your social commentary, or you're going to offend, you know, too many people, right? And I think that goes against everything that we're about living, you know, in this country. But it is what it is, because on the flip side to that, let's talk about the upside to social media and content and that sort of thing. So I want to introduce this podcast to my listeners, because, you know, we're in the middle of a rebrand, and by the time you guys hear this, we'll have rebranded this entire podcast to Breakthrough. And the reason that I changed the name from just the Chris Medellin Show to Breakthrough is because in life, there are these moments that that the listeners and that people go through in life where right before you have a breakthrough moment, there's something that happens. You're pissed off, you're angry, you're fed up. Something happens where you're just not willing to accept mediocrity anymore. And that pushes you to a limit that you didn't know you can do. And that's the breakthrough moment. And we've all had it in life. And today I want to talk about yours, because, you know, there was a time that you weren't using, you actually have a marketing major, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a time in this business that you probably weren't using that to all of its, you know, potential.
Which was the majority of my career. I was not using it.
And you get this opportunity now to tap into a creative side of your brain that we never got to use. I mean, mortgages, to be quite honest, are really boring. You know,
there's nothing sexy about it.
You're helping, but the one part that's really cool is the fact that you get to change lives. You get to help people build generational wealth. But at the end of the day, what we do is paperwork. And now you've been able to add and insert this marketing capability that's completely transformed you. So I don't want to, you know, connect the dots that's what your breakthrough moment was, but let's talk about that for a second. So what was your breakthrough moment in life, and what happened that really drove you to take your business to the next level? Because right now, if you're a lender, most people know who you are now.
Yeah, which I appreciate, man. And, you know, I'm doing all this stuff to kind of fast forward to the end of the answer too, and then I'll Tarantino this thing.
Yes, let's do it. Yeah.
You know, like for the same reasons you are, right? Like we want to help the industry move forward and get better. Mm-hmm. So this ability to connect and, you know, do podcasts, put out content, create community, it's been reinvigorating for all of us, right? Because before that, the mortgage industry was just punch list checking and paper pushing, and also just being low on the totem pole, right? We'd get yelled at by realtors, yelled at by title companies. Like, it's like it wears on you. It almost deflates your
I
soul.
used to say this. I don't say it as much anymore, but there used to be, and sorry to interrupt you, but there used to be, I used to tell everybody there's an expiration date on what we do. Nobody wants to be an originator forever.
No.
But now there's this ability to transform what you're doing to help more people and do it in a way that, you know, is really making impact in lives.
Right.
And
Create
that you can
longevity.
journey and you could journal that. You can, you know, display the journey through social media, and it changes everything about what we're doing. There's an insert of excitement again into the industry. How did that change for you?
So, you know, when you bring this back to like the breakthrough moment, I like to refer to this as the Rocky 3 moment.
Okay.
So most people who are Rocky fans, they all, if you ask them what's their favorite Rocky, it's undoubtedly, it always pulls out as number one, Rocky 4, the one with the Russian, right? Because it was the cool cinematography in Russia. The fight was amazing. It was this, and then Apollo died, if you recall. I don't know if you're a Rocky fan, but my favorite was Rocky 3, and it was because of a rebuild, of a reboot that he had to do. And I tell people this, that we all as professionals and as individuals, human beings, we have to have a Rocky 3 moment in our life. And what that is where things are going great and you develop almost a false sense of security. Like somehow you're the secret sauce that's making all this magic happen when it's really the market. For me, that was the run up leading to 08, right? We all thought we were great who were in the business. I mean, it was just easy money. Things were like anything you touched turned to gold. And that was Rocky in his career. And then he ran into this point of adversity and he lost. Right? In fact, he was beaten bad. And for all of us in the industry, that was 08, like crashed. And then you're scratching your head wondering, was I ever that good? Was I like, I mean, it's really deflating and it's very reflective and it's a very honest and brutally uncomfortable conversation you have with yourself. And so I experienced that professionally. I also experienced it athletically. That first world championship I won in 2007, when I went back to repeat with it in 2012, I lost. And then I had those same doubts creep in. Was I ever that good? Did I get lucky the first time? And I'm like, all right, no, it's the next move that's going to define that, not this one. We're either going to prove that this was a one-off and that I can put myself back together again and come back bigger and better and learn from this and have it fuel me rather than define me, or it is going to define me. And it was the same with the market in 08. So to bring this back to mortgage in 08, like afterwards in the wake of it, my brother and I, Shivani wasn't really working with us at the time and probably for good reason. I think she was still in school. So Neil and I mean, those were dark days, you know, sitting in the office looking at each other like, we don't even have a loan product to give anyone.
Are you buying leads? What are you doing at the time?
I mean, we were trying to like go back through our database because we had a very big book of business. The problem was they were all Alt-A and subprime clients that now could not buy a mortgage.
Yeah, that's 7 years. Yeah, they had to wait. Yeah.
They had to wait a long time. So like, okay, they're all disqualified. They don't even want, some of them didn't even want to talk to us. We had to be like really careful about who we told, what we did, you know, and for those of you listening that remember that time.
Yeah.
Like,
You're a used car salesman. It was,
totally.
It was embarrassing. You
couldn't say, it was humiliating. So we got back to grinding, but it was all we knew. I hired a mortgage coach or a business coach who was in the mortgage industry. I'm still with him today. Neil was always very good at what he did. He's the smartest man in the industry. I always say that. And so we would just kind of stick with what we knew and somehow started putting some things back together again. We weren't creating content. I had a social media presence just for way of social purposes, connecting with college buddies, friends around the world, family, whatever. Neil thought social media was ridiculous. He hated it.
This is great.
He thought it was a waste of time. Like most people won't believe this, but he thought it was where you go to waste time or have an affair or like get into trouble.
Yeah.
You know, like, so it just wasn't any time well spent. But when the flip for us and what was really defining was when we actually started creating content because it reinvigorated us. So it was a big breakthrough moment. But I had another like really, you know, kind of conflicting point where I almost quit. And it was right when I made the decision to start creating content for
That's the breakthrough moment.
That was the real breakthrough moment. It was 5 years ago.
Okay.
So I'm 15 years, 16 years into the business. So I've got a lot of experience. I get stood up for a coffee meeting with an agent who's only been in the business at that point for like 3 years. He's still in the business today, and he doesn't know that he's the fuel of my story. One of these days I'll tell him. But like I got to the meeting early, and I said, hey, man, what do you want? I'm here. I'll order you a coffee. He just says, I'm not going to make it. Like just dismissed me like the way you cancel an Uber driver. It's like, wow, okay. Hours before that, I'd been yelled at by 2 agents on something for a deal that's going to close on time, but they were convinced it wasn't, and they just decided to yell at me. had another client cancel on me, lost another deal to a big bank, which happens a lot in San Francisco. And I just felt like, man, maybe the universe is telling me something. I got to quit this thing or take my energy and put it elsewhere. So I called up my business coach, said, hey, Kai, what do you think, man? Like, is the universe telling me to quit this thing? He's like, look, I know you're good at what you do. You know you're good at what you do. The clients you've worked with know you're good at what you do. But does anyone else? And the answer was no. Mm-hmm. He said, if I Google you, what are we going to find? Only stuff about your Taekwondo history, which is cool, but it's not going to make someone want to get a mortgage with you or learn from you or trust you with their money. Mm-hmm. So he said, I don't know what the answer is, because he didn't answer social.
Yeah, because we
didn't really know.
I think you were a bit of a pioneer at the time.
I don't even know if it was that, Chris. You're too kind, man.
Well, no, I mean, I think that you back in the day, like back in 2020, when there was not a lot of people. I mean, people were, there was a picture at the, with the sign, we just closed the deal. But really storytelling and providing value and content, I think you guys were pioneers in what you did with that. I mean, that was significant change. And, when I realized, well, there's other people doing it and they're way better than me, this is where I was like, I want to be friends with them. I want to learn what they're doing, what's going through their mind, how are they creating content. But to watch that, I think you guys own that. You guys were pioneers in really the shift in, changing the way a loan officer is producing content and, changing the way that we approach the business. So
I feel like I want to like change the narrative on how they view us as originators. Because for the longest time in the whole hierarchy of the totem pole of everyone involved in a real estate transaction, most people put the lender somewhere near the insurance broker. The deal, like of level of importance and how they're treated and what role they play in the transaction.
Which, not to interrupt you again, but this is what blows my mind, because we're going to get back to your story. I want to hear the rest of it, but like to that end, right? You would call an agent and they would say, well, how much can you give me for my marketing?
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, like, when did that? We give the money. Mm-hmm. We the most important part of the transaction is giving the money in the transaction.
But they would never tell you that.
They'll never tell you that, but that is the truth of it, right? So for me, do I want somebody to pay for my marketing, or do I want them to just be really good at getting me the money?
Yeah.
I want them to just be really good at giving me the money. If I'm a realtor, and for me as a lender, if I'm working with a realtor, I want them to be really good at finding a house and getting my client the best deal. And by the way, there's a lot that aren't that great at that either.
Majority.
So when you think about it, this hierarchy is insane to me, because like I'll have LOs that will sometimes I'll see a chain email like, hey, who has a contractor to come and fix this place? I'm like, no, like that's not our role, and we're here just to give the money. Mm-hmm. Your agent that's what the agents do. They're handling the property, we're handling the money, but if we get involved and something happens, now we're the bad guys, right? Yeah. So you gotta kind of, but we're always trying to fix everything, because that's our motive in trying to procure the deal. But to your point, we get dismissed a lot, and I don't know where that shifted, but I think what you're doing and the following and the tribe that you and Neil have created with realtors is really shifting the game on the value of having a good lender.
I think, if you become a better marketer, which is what this whole game is about, whether you're a real estate agent or you're a lender, because the best marketer wins.
That's
right?
it.
The best marketing wins. If you don't believe that, just look at the Grey Goose story. Everyone perceives Grey Goose as the best vodka in the world. It's actually shit vodka.
It is.
It's graded number 3 or 4 on the list of all vodkas and like taste tests and like vodka perfectionists that understand it. Belvedere is number 1. Mm-hmm. Ketel One is number 2. Grey Goose is 3 or 4, but why is it perceived as the best? Because it's marketed beautifully.
And it's a great name.
It's an amazing name. And it's in every rap song. Goose bottles, Grey Goose got you loose. Like it's in rap videos, and they like the branding of the bottle, like those huge, gigantic bottles that they bring out to you at nightclubs and bars. And so you're like, it's positioned to look like the best. So it's the best marketer, right? And whoever's going to be the best marketer is going to win in this game. Those of us in the industry, and if you want to change the perception of the LO, which is a mission of mine, and I know it's a mission of yours, right? To bring respect, because we are, without a doubt, okay? This is not to offend any realtors. This is just to give you the reality check. We are the most important quotient in the whole game. Mm-hmm. No question about it. Without us, there is no deal. It's the glue. It's the unsung hero in every transaction is the lender, right? The agents, yes, what you do is important, but let's also put some perspective on it. and realized that all of this 1 + 1 needing to equal 3 magic, which is hard to put logic behind, we have to come up with that.
You have to come up with it.
We have to figure it out. So this is important, but for all of us that get good at the marketing side of it, because you know who's not good at marketing? Our real estate agents. And for our realtor partners who always have thought of us as a source of cash, pay me half for my Zillow leads and maybe I'll give you the leads. I'll tell you I'm going to give them to you, but the reality is I'm probably going to give them to my guy at the bank because he's not allowed to pay for them, but you are and you're a sucker. So I'll give you 1, but I'm going to give him 5. Like, it's a terrible game. I fell prey to that. Now, whenever I haven't been asked it in a while, I'm kind of like missing the question. You know, I wish they'd ask me because I always just say, I don't pay to play anymore. But what I will do is more for your business in a 30-minute chat. And I won't even talk to you about rates or product or service, but I'm going to do more for your business than any lender you've ever talked to. I've got your attention. And it's because of this, because every realtor knows they need to be doing video. Every realtor knows they need to have a brand and be online. Their broker's telling them it. Their colleagues are telling them, but they don't know how. No one's teaching them. So if you yourself as a lender, you want to be the most valuable commodity in your market, get good at this stuff, get into it, figure it out, develop some nuance, become a student of the game, and then teach it to your realtor
100%.
partners, and you will build in so much loyalty and such great long-lasting relationship and currency in that relationship. And it'll make you an indispensable growth partner. You won't be thought of as my lender partner. You'll be my indispensable growth partner, which is a big shift. Renee talks about that, Rodriguez, right? And we both know him well. Like, that's how you want to be thought of as a lender. So that's my mission, is to change that game. And I hope every lender that's out there that you and I are both in contact with kind of accepts that battle cry as well.
Oh, I think so. But we also, as lenders, have to provide that value. You have to have a microphone. You have to be able to, you know, this is what I train with my team is like, if you can teach your agent how to get out of their mind and get into, you know, a space where they're comfortable doing content, that could transform their business. And you're the person they're always going to remember. They got them there, right? Yeah. So let's go back. I want to hear this. So you're about to quit. You're so pissed off at that moment that this guy blows you off like an Uber driver. Yeah. So what happened?
So I called my coach. He says, you know, nobody knows that you're good at what you do. I don't know what the answer is, but you got to figure out how to fix that. So, okay, I started scratching my head. I started talking to some people that were influential, that were bloggers. You know, they had and then they were creating some kind of business online. They had visibility. And then Neil and I went to a Gary Vee conference in Miami. Agent 2021 is what it was called.
Oh man, I remember that. Yeah.
It was a big shifting moment for a lot of people.
And it wasn't in 2021. This was like
it was in 2019.
Right? But so it was like basically the future.
And Gary's answer as to why he called it that name and why the 4 industry groups were there, because it was insurance brokers, auto dealership owners, mortgage and real estate.
Yes.
So mortgage and real estate and insurance made sense, but auto didn't make a lot. This is kind of a hodgepodge of people. So somebody raised their hand when Gary opened the event and said, Gary, why these 4? And he goes, it's really easy. It's because you're all fucked.
Yeah.
All your industries are fucked unless you guys do something right now. Okay, talk about a hook, right? Or like getting your attention. I was like, okay, I'm all ears. Like, tell me what you're going to tell me.
Yes.
And so for the next several hours through panel discussions, Gary did a few keynotes, even closed it out. There was a host of other great speakers. It was basically about becoming, you know, the digital mayor of your city, being a brand first and a media company first, comma, now you're a lender. It's not lender first and then everything else second. It's like, I need to think of myself differently. So the light bulb went off and I was still trying to put some dots together. Neil was actually way ahead of this because Neil came into social with this intent only, to connect with people and find a purpose behind it and give some value and really monetize this. I had, you know, kind of a lax social presence.
You're more of a social, you were doing it for social purposes.
I was doing it for social purposes, which is what everyone was on there for, right? So I hadn't really figured out how to like flip that. But Neil was doing it with great success right out of the gates because he was really determined. He's extremely intelligent. And he didn't have any other frames of reference. Whereas I had the laziness of like years of just having an account there. So I took those audiences for granted. I took those connections for granted. And then started following his lead in some ways and creating content, coming up with ideas, trying to give value, executing on it, distributing the content at a much slower pace than what he was doing, which is why his trajectory was straight up. Mine was a little slower and bumpier. Then I started outsourcing some things. But it was my breakthrough moment, was that event, and recognizing now that I'm going to become the best known commodity in my market. I don't care if they all do business with me. They're all going to know who I am. That's it. That's all I care about. Because if enough people know, eventually the business will happen. So I made a commitment to create content and put out stuff for 1 year and not expect anything.
That's it.
The reality
That's
is
the way to
for
do
2 years, I didn't get anything, which is a whole nother story because I was doing it wrong. I was thinking only in terms of what I wanted to speak about rather than what the end user or the consumer wants to hear about. Once I made that switch, then everything changed.
Well, that's a really good point because so Neil and I would talk we would have these conversations at night, right? Probably 2020, 2021. What are you doing? What do you got going on? You know, like just kind of trying to understand where the next phase was. And I think we recognized that we were both doing content, but the difference that Neil had, and, you know, I don't know that it ever came to this because in my head, I think I had it all figured out at the time, was I wanted to be known. Let me back that up. I wanted to put out more content than anyone in my role in the industry, right? Number one. Number two, I wanted anybody in the industry who did mortgages to know who I was. That was my goal. Like if I can put out content before anybody else was, then they'll at least know who I am. So if I pick up the phone and I do a cold call to an LO, they're like, I know that dude. We'll talk to him, you know, because I saw his content. So it's really about a conversion mechanism for me. Where you guys did it differently, and it sounded like Neil did it differently, and then you came along, was he thought more broad. He had an avatar. He went after millennials. I was going after an industry, and he went after a segment of a demographic that was so broad that he captured everybody I wanted, everybody you wanted, and our agents on top of that, right? So he captured everybody, and I was floored by it. I was like, that is brilliant. And now it's the backup of what's my brand, what are my values, what is my content going to look like, and does that mirror who my audience is? And then it's to create content to hit those things. But it's hard, man. And so you've seen, you know, so much success with this. You said you had your ups and downs, you shifted your message, and things changed. Talk about what that was.
So I spent the first few years creating content that I wanted to talk about, that I felt comfortable talking about, that made me feel intelligent or that I just really felt well-versed on. But unless it's what people actually want to hear about, it's not going to connect, right? So I've got this expression I use when it comes to content creation, that if you're a restaurant owner and people come in wanting hamburgers, don't serve them burritos. They're asking for hamburgers. Just give them what they want. So when I started putting on the hats and the ears of the end users and saying, okay, what do these people want to hear about, and researching those topics, polling people, asking through email newsletters and whatever, that gave me my content ideas, which made my creativity curve way less steep. I don't have to reinvent the wheel. They're just telling me again, we want hamburgers. So Arjun, like, throw away all the Mexican food. You don't need any of it. Serve them hamburgers. And then it switched. Because then the content started connecting with more people. There was way more engagement. And then I was like, wow, it took me 2 years to figure this out. So I always love sharing that. I say it every time I get the opportunity because I want a lender out there to avoid that mistake that I made for the first 2 years. And hopefully it saves you time too. But, you know, figuring out what people want to know about, you know, going online, Answer the Public's a great resource that I use to just come up with topics and see, like, what are people searching for? But we have to do that because then otherwise we're tone deaf, right, as an industry or as thought leaders or people, right? Like if you were speaking to people on this podcast, but it was nothing of what they wanted to hear about, this thing just kind of vanishes, right? It's just
100%. Yeah,
so 100%. That's really important.
So that's really it. I mean, and you know, the goal ultimately is I wanted people, there's an LO right now because your moment happened right before the market really we went on a run for the market with the market. And being in that moment, there's LOs literally today that might be listening to this that are at that moment like, man, should I just get out of this? Should I just, you know, throw in a towel, go do something else? I had a guy who gave me he was an Uber driver, and I love my Uber drivers. I'm like, you know, I always have conversations with them, want to know what their story is.
Me too.
And this one in particular guy was like, yeah, I was a lender, and back in 2008, crushing it, you know, and then it started to be a thing. I probably have had 10 Uber drivers that were lenders in 2008. And what scares me is that if people don't take control of their situation that they have right now and find solutions to their problems and become marketers, that they're going to be doing the same thing. They're going to be in a different industry that doesn't have the upside potential to do what they do today in another industry. And there's people like we lost a loan officer that I think when they left, they were saying, you know, I I only made like 30,000 last year. And I'm like, that's not a way to live. You know, you, and you're smart. I want my, you know, my grandmother, my mother doing their deals with you because you're smart, but just nobody knows what you do and how good you are.
Yep.
And, you know, it's unfortunate because I've been talking about this for some time, but the industry legends, there's these industry legends in every market that people go to if they can't get their deal done. They're like the encyclopedias. They know how to do it. They figure it out. But they're going to go away because eventually a computer is going to be able to do and figure out how to make deals work.
Yep.
And I think that's what Gary was saying. If you don't build a value proposition,
Right.
It's funny you say that Agent 2021 is what changed you, because that's the sole reason that I created a podcast, was from that. I listened to the Daily V. He posted that conference and specific to mortgage and said, you know, become the digital mayor of your market. And, you know, and then it's evolved since then, but I think that's what it's all about, man. It's really how can you shift and inspire somebody to come out of their shell and start to market in a way that, you know, is going to connect with your audience. So tell me about you. Where do you take this next? I mean, you're very ambitious. You're extremely successful at what you're doing. You've had your breakthrough moments. And by the way, you're probably going to have another one coming up here soon to take you even to the next level. But where do you want to get to?
I mean, it's still evolving, right? Like now, you know, we put on some events, which you came and supported, which I appreciate, brother.
Absolutely,
like, that was a big risk and a bet on myself to, you know, at the time of a market downturn, to bring in Ryan Serhant to San Francisco.
It couldn't have been a more perfect time to do that event.
I believe it.
And he couldn't have been the better speaker to do it.
I don't think there was anybody else.
He was right on point with it.
He was, yeah, and it's still having a ripple effect, you know, through our market. And you know, that kind of told me, like, building community like this on a big scale and putting together things that help move the needle, inspire, motivate, elevate, and just get people thinking differently is where I like spending my time, right? Like, I like doing that on the coaching side with the athletes I'd work with. Now that I'm not going to be doing that, like, I feel like this is an easy pivot.
Absolutely, time-wise.
So I feel like, you know, LFG Energy, which was the entity that put on that event, which kind of just happened. And now, you know, we did another one. It was called the Social Boss Lady just a few weeks ago. It was an all-female panel, another sold-out crowd, tremendous value and insights, you know, with some of the best marketers and lender and realtor that were in the space. And I feel like now this is what I kind of want to do. So I want to evolve LFG Energy, create a society, which is another more sophisticated way of calling it a mastermind, you know, and create more community to just help people within our industry, collaborate with guys like you that are also doing the same thing as thought leaders and propelling things forward, and just make us all better.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, that's what fuels me now. So that's the next thing.
I think as leaders in the industry, one of the biggest things that I always go back to when I'm second guessing something, you know, you've been in this situation where the deals aren't coming in the way that they need to. People are not inspired the way that they need to be. You see morale is low. Every time I get there, my one go-to move is to bring people together.
Yeah.
And the more you can bring people together, then there's a synergy that starts. And
totally.
And so
take the focus off you, right?
Without a doubt, right? Yeah. And then, you know, but there's something to be learned, because within a group of people, there's somebody winning. And if I can learn from that person that's winning, it's what it's all about. But people who are successful, people who are breaking through, people who are taking their business, their careers, their income to the next level are in masterminds. They're in societies that are helping them connect with people that are 10 steps ahead of where they want to be. Yep. And so the big shift for me was, I remember a moment in my career where I don't think I was going to quit, but I needed to make a change. And I realized that I was hanging out with the wrong people. I was hanging out with the people that were negative. I was hanging out with the people that didn't have a solution for their problems. They were entitled. And I remember calling somebody and they said, I don't have a company problem. I have like a mortgage problem. Like, this is a mortgage industry issue that we're in. And just like that, all my issues went away, because I was like, everybody's going through this. It's up to me to figure out how I'm going to take it to the next level. And I think, you know, right now is the best time to be to create communities within our industry to help those people that are struggling. And, you know, I've never been to an event like the Forward event and to like your event where you put on this LFG event that I was literally just taking notes. It was, a master class on how to survive and how to be different and how to know that the markets are going to come up and down, and it's really how you approach it that's going to determine your success. Those things were life-changing for me. And it's weird because you're like, I think I got this, but you need that inspiration at times. So I want to see you continue to do this, man, because this is going to be, a game changer for our industry. So you want to really focus in on more event and community events. Community involvement situations.
Yeah, and also just that's all that's part of the brand, of course, and then expand. We're obviously always looking to grow with the right people, like grow our organization, grow our efforts in other markets to help reach and impact people and do things with a financial literacy forward-facing approach.
Okay.
Because we recognize that internally within our company, and I know you guys feel the same way, and most of the other companies do, that there is a big gap in financial literacy here.
100,
and if we can make people more comfortable with conversations around money, have a better understanding of money and debt as an instrument and as a tool, we can empower them and we can change lives. We can create like generational impact.
That's it.
And that's the power behind what we do, but no one ever shares this. Like, we have to get well-versed on it ourselves first. And then second, step into this microphone, because there's an audience out there. You may not realize it, and speak. And Neil's got a great phrase too that I love to take and use. Is like, if you don't share it, you're being selfish.
That's it.
You're being selfish.
Yeah.
You might think you're just being self-conscious by not sharing it, but you're actually being selfish.
That's it.
Think, nobody wants to hear this. I don't want to say it. No, if you've got something valuable to share and you know it's valuable, you better speak it up. Speak up about it, because it could impact one person. It could impact a few, and don't be selfish. Share it.
So I'll give you the story that comes to mind whenever I hear Neil say that. I used to love going to dealerships and wheeling and dealing with the car guys, right? And so by the time I would beat them down so hard, but by the time I got to the finance guys, they were just like, get this guy out of here, And I would get mad because they wouldn't offer me, the shit that they give you at the end. It's like, do you want a warranty? Do you want the coat, the clear coat stuff? Do you want the, tires, whatever,
whistles,
right? I want to be sold on this stuff, right? Like, cause I just want to be sold, and they wouldn't sell me because they were like, this guy has already beat us down. We're not going to get it. And so I'd ask them, why are you not offering me this stuff? Cause it's literally on their desk to offer. So they don't forget. It's like a laminate. And that's the problem, is I think people build a narrative in their head of what other people want or don't want.
Yeah.
And therefore that creates their behavior. And I think that the truth of the matter is that there's somebody right now that needs your help, and they have no idea that you could help them. And the other thing is, where it changed for me is my mother was doing a deal with somebody. She was doing a home equity, and she said, your dad and I we getting a home equity so that we can do some renovations. And I said, well, when are they going to start the renovation? She said, next week. I said, when did you apply? And she said, today. We'll have the money by tomorrow. I said, you won't have the money by tomorrow. I said, do you already have these guys? Like, yeah, they're lined up. And I was like, they're never going to get that money by next week or whenever you wanted to do it. And I said, why didn't you call me and ask me? She's like, Chris, I don't even know what you do. And it hit me. I was like, if my mom doesn't know what I'm doing,
that's bad.
Then the person cutting my hair doesn't know what I'm doing.
Oh.
Then, my friends don't know what I'm doing, right? I thought being a private person was, a thing, and where that got in. But when it shifted for me, it all changed. Now I'm doing all my friends' deals. I'm doing, and I'm like, they come to me for advice, and then it's like, yeah, you're getting a bad deal. We'll take it from here, But I think you have changed our industry. You've made an impact, if you will. And I hope you accept that and embrace that and know that there's a confidence level that you got to have around that, because you're continuing to shift it. I love what you're doing. And for the people that are listening, I really want you guys to go out and follow Arjun_mortgage and make sure that you're giving my man some love. What else do you want to share with the audience, man, while I got you?
No, I will share the story of how you and I met, which was at, Neil's first Forward event in Vegas. You come up to me wearing white shoes, and you and I have this love for fashion, right? Like white shoes and leather jackets. You're always asking me, hey, where'd you get that jacket? And I'm asking you, where'd you get these shoes? So we started joking with each other, but you had this infectious, magnetic aura about you.
Thanks, man.
And then I heard your last name. I'm like, Medellin. So I always get really Medellin. Animated and very just fired up when I say the name, which I love. So every time I see you, man, it brings a smile to me. So I appreciate the friendship and connection that we've
Absolutely.
made over these years.
Yes.
And I'm always rooting for you, man, in anything you do and want to support it. So that's one thing I'll share, for all the audience that's out there. Like, not only is this a great podcast, but the man behind the microphone that's leading this is really a force that I have tremendous respect for in our industry. And I think everything he puts out is just pure selfless value. So keep doing it, man.
Yes.
Keep doing it. But no, I'll just say, look, for our industry, it's a challenging time. Is it the worst time? No. For those of us that lived through 2008, those were dark days. I don't want to minimize what we're going through, because when you don't have another frame of reference, this is tough, right? For me, in comparing it to 2008, this is nothing. For you, it's something. And while I'm not minimizing it, I also want to put it back into perspective that this is a little bit of a lull and a tight moment in a market. But if you focus on all your own fundamentals and take this time to make yourself better. I understand we got to find the next deal because we got bills to pay. And for many people in the industry, which is totally normal, every market cycle, they made a lot of money and then they increased their lifestyle to match that money. And now that the money's not there, there is immense day-to-day stress on how to maintain this lifestyle, which is hard to do. Take it as a learning lesson so that you never do it again, because these shifts that we're having in the market are not a matter of if they happen, it's always a matter of when. They come, they're cyclical. Things go up, things go down. That's just the way economies work. So live within your means next time around, for sure. If you already were, then good job, because you obviously learned something or somebody taught it to you. And just focus on making yourself better. Hone your craft. Get better at your message. Figure out what value it is you bring to your own respective markets, and focus on putting out that message. The deals will come. We're not that far out away from another little shift in our favor, whether it's through lower rates, a little bit more inventory. Things will move. Plus, also, don't discount this. A good 500,000 agents and lenders are exiting the industry.
Yes.
Over the course of this quarter and next quarter. There will be less competition. And yes, the pie is a little bit smaller now, and so is the market share, but that pie is about to expand once we get a little bit lower rates and more homes come on the market. But where you're going to have less competition. So if you plant your seeds right now and you do your work, you can come out the other side of this, which we're not far off from. We're talking maybe a matter of months here.
Months.
Right? And you'll not only have a head start, you'll have a lot of legs underneath you. So
without a
I
doubt.
would just focus on you. Don't worry. This is a temporary thing. Don't stress or try to minimize it, and just get better. Focus on getting better. And
I can't agree more.
Moment.
I cannot agree more. And I'm going to add this to it. Hang out with people that inspire you. Hang out with people that are a few steps ahead of you, that are going to keep you in the game. If you're right now in a circle of people that are down, then you're going to be down. If you want to hang out with people that are winning and you want to win, then surround yourself with people. And by the way, man, I would love to be a part of your society, because I think that the more we work together as a group, we can continue to shift this industry and really change how the community looks at lenders.
Yes.
And I think you guys have already started a head start you already have a head start on how you're doing that. So I'm proud of the work you're doing, man. And I'm glad we're friends. So thank you for being on this podcast, brother. And you guys make sure that you are listening and watching and checking out everything that Arjun_mortgage is doing. I appreciate you being here, brother.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate you too, man.
All right. This is Breakthrough, guys. Have a great day.